Welcome back, ladies and Burms, by which I mean Burmy, the best Pokemon of the entire crew of Pokemon. I don't know how many there are anymore, but Burmy's the best.
I don't know what Burmy looks like.
Burmy is Burmy's a bug type Pokemon, so you know he's elite, and he's 8 inches tall. I'm reading. He's a bug type. His category is Bagworm, and his ability is Shed Skin. I've been saying this all week to everyone, and it's just very important for me that everybody knows that Burmy is the Pokemon I'm vibing with right now. There's like seasonal variations of Burmy. I don't know. Don't ask me. It's been a long time since I played Gen 4. Remember when I told you I was like, Teese, I've got a really good opener. That was it. That was my opener.
I've never seen Burmy before. This is the first time I've ever laid eyes on Burmy. And it's really upsetting because Burmy's evolution, Wormadam, is Pokemon number 413.
Oh my god.
It evolved from a female Burmy starting at level 20. Can Burmy only be female?
Burmy has different evolutions depending on its sex.
Oh my god. Burmy. Please.
Fuck it up, Burmy.
What does Burmy become? What is Burmy's male
Whatever
Shiro?
their heart desires.
I don't like this little poopy on its head either.
That's how he hangs. He's a little bagworm.
I don't know if I trust him.
He goes sproing.
Sproing. That's really... Is Burmy your favorite Pokemon?
No, absolutely not.
Who's your favorite Pokemon?
He's a fucking bug type.
Don't be mean.
My favorite Pokemon is Lapras.
Taste.
And Gengar follows closely after.
I'm
not an elitist about earlier generations. I love that little apple pie baby in the newest generation. I'm forgetting the name of it off the top of my head, but
I haven't followed Pokemon in a really long time.
Appleton.
I don't know a whole lot about Pokemon besides what I see. So I guess that's the question of the week for you. What's your favorite Pokemon?
Yeah. What's your favorite Pokemon, Teese?
Nosepass.
Of course. I forgot. Every time I forget, and then I ask, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. Okay.
I also like Ditto. Ditto is my friend.
Ditto is incredible. If you don't like Ditto, I don't, are you okay?
Yeah. I also love Misdreavus as well. Misdreavus, whatever you want to call it. But those are my top 3.
Combee is an excellent little Pokemon. Just a little honeycomb guy.
Oh.
There's 3 of them. I have questions about their consciousness.
I love that.
You know, in all seriousness.
Do you want to hear a fun Tease fact?
Oh, absolutely.
I cosplayed a Alolan Executor.
I remember this. Oh, that picture. We got to put that on the Twitter then.
Soon. If I have to dig it up.
It's a very good cosplay.
Thank you. It's probably my magnum opus as far as I'm concerned. But do you want to hear what my concept... So, you know how people always like draw their trainer sonas or whatever?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear what my concept is? I'm not a trainer, but a Nosepass lives with me. And I also wear like a seatbelt on my shoulder. And on my shoulder is a little Tupperware. And in that Tupperware, my Ditto can sit on my shoulder.
Can he breathe?
Yeah. Well, okay.
There's holes in the top?
No. So it's not like the bottom. It's like a little tray, like the bottom part of the Tupperware.
Oh, okay. So, like a little glass pan.
Yeah. Because I feel like Ditto have the consistency of, you know, those like slimy slap hand things.
Only 90s kids remember slimy slap hand things, but they're like little sticky things.
I
can, like,
hate the smell of those.
Yeah. Oh God.
I hate the smell of them. To the point where when I was a kid, I would not touch them because I hated them so much.
Yeah.
But that's what I assume Dittos feel like.
Okay.
And I don't want my clothing to get slimy sticky. But I want my Ditto to hang out with me, so I want to put my
I guess
Ditto
you don't
on
want
my
your
shoulder.
Ditto to collect lint either.
Exactly.
I have so many questions about the mechanics of Ditto.
Same.
And my brain is wired in such a way right now that I'm operating on not enough restful sleep that my brain keeps wanting to say dildo because it's like it's auto-correcting for me. I'm like, no. That's not what we're talking about here. Absolutely not. Not with my good son Ditto.
Ditto is our friend.
Ditto is such an exceptional little boy.
Absolutely superb. But not to change the subject.
No, change the subject. That's okay.
What have you been watching this past week?
This week I watched 2 rom-coms with 2 of my delightful friends. We had a little party.
Uh-huh.
And we started by watching Little Italy, which features Emma Roberts and Hayden Christensen, who played Anakin Skywalker in the prequels. And it's like, oh, what's he been up to? It's been this movie, and it is such an outrageously horny movie.
Oh.
Like, unnecessarily horny. It's so weird. Like, every scene there's some sort of sexual reference, and I'm watching this with my 2 friends are both A's, and so it's just like, God, this is weird. Like, it's weird and uncomfortable, and I've got one friend who's sitting there like, why was this necessary? That was a bad joke. It wasn't even needed there. There was a and it's a bad movie. We watched it because Drew Gooden, who's a YouTuber, did a video on it, and we didn't believe how absurd it sounded. But it's even worse than like he shows it to be. There's scenes he cut out, and we're like, oh my God, why? But it's all about a Romeo and Juliet styled story in Little Italy, but in, I want to say, Toronto. Don't quote me on that. It's somewhere in Canada. So it's not even like New York Little Italy or something. It's a little bit more quintessential. And then we watched Always Be My Maybe with Ali Wong, which is cute.
Mm-hmm. I heard it was cute. That's about it. Basically, everybody
Keanu
hyped
Reeves
it up.
is really funny in it. But I mean, like, it's genuinely like a funny, cute rom-com.
Nice. That's cool.
What about you? I know what you've been watching, but please, Teese, enlighten me.
So, I'm going to start off with the normal thing. Last week, I kind of went through a little speed through of a handful of things. I caught up to A Trail of Blood, also known as Blood on the Tracks in the United States, and that is a horror manga about a son who sees his mother push her nephew off of a cliff, and the nephew survives, and it's about the relationship with the son and the mother, and how the son clearly knows that she's crazy, but he doesn't know how to psychologically escape. It is a fantastically written manga. I really, really love it. I think about 2 volumes are available in the States right now. I do want to pick it up because I enjoy it this much that I want to fully support it and stuff like that. So I caught up on that, and a new chapter came out this week, so that was really exciting. I caught up Dungeon Meshi, which I also really love and have so many feelings for. I watched the first episode of Lovecraft Country, which was really, really good. We are going to miss the second episode while we record tonight. I just noticed my computer, for some reason, the time is set to 5:55 and not 8:55. I will have to fix that later. And I finished Shirobako, which I think I mentioned last week, which is about women working in the animation industry. And I really, really enjoyed it, and I cried the whole time. And to chase the high of Shirobako, I started Uma Musume Pretty Derby. And that is about horse girls who are also idols.
So when you told me that it was about horse girls, my brain said, okay, horse people like the kind of person who's really into horses. We all know a horse girl. We all know a horse person.
We do.
Someone who's just really into horses. Or someone who has horse people energy.
Yes.
But this anime, correct me if I'm wrong, is in fact about girls like cat girl style horse girls, where they have horse ears.
Do you want to know how
Do they have horse tails?
Yes, they do. So it's not.
Do they have hooves?
No, but they wear sneakies
Boo.
that have.
Boo.
They have like regular feet, but they
Gross.
wear little sneakers like cleats that have horseshoes on them. So they show them
cute.
like in their dorm room, like actually hammering on their horseshoes and stuff like that on their cleats, which is kind of cute. But it's not normal to be a horse girl. Do you like? What happens is when a girl is born, sometimes the soul of a horse from another world enters their body, and they are horse soul reincarnated as a horse girl, and they can be raised as regular children, but they can run really fast like a horse. They love carrots, and they can run really fast.
Oh my god.
It is terrible. And I love it. And then if they win, so then they all race against each other, like a really big track race. And then if you win, you have to idol perform. So it's not even like you get to rest at the end of your day. You have to then perform your horse idol song. Cass, I'm obsessed with it.
Is there like a rhythm game you can play?
I think there might be. I think it technically was originally a game and then it became an anime, but I don't think it's available stateside, and I'm not ready to delve back into Japan exclusive game hell. I will investigate it though once I finish the anime, probably.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Yeah, it's
sounds like a totally normal show with a totally normal premise, and
it's, you know how people joke about like, oh, you could do anything in anime. This really is one of those moments. And it shows.
So, Teese, this week, we're jetting off to a remote island to talk about something wonderful. Welcome to your own personal island getaway with the Nook Getaway Package. This week we're talking about Animal Crossing, and specifically the crossover with corporate partners and what Animal Crossing has done for us in this incredibly different, difficult, unprecedented time of the COVID-19 pandemic. But for anyone unaware, Animal Crossing is what's called a life simulator. And so in Animal Crossing, the clock of the game works in real time. So days pass in Animal Crossing at the exact same rate that they pass in real life. Different iterations of the game will have slightly different mechanics, but the overall premise is that you are this like sort of human villager on an island or in a village with a bunch of little animal denizens who you can befriend, help do errands with. There is a notorious joke of paying off your debt to a tanuki or raccoon dog named Tom Nook to further expand your house. There are shops that you can go to buy new clothes and tools, but it's largely like a very pastoral game in that it is all about just kind of idly passing time. The game was made to really kind of be played, maybe for 10-20 minutes a day, where you can go and dig up some fossils, you can go fish, or, hunt bugs. There are seasonal changes and holidays and all sorts of stuff. So it is a very low-key game. You're not going to get anything like combat or like super high stakes. Like the only time there's a timer put on you is for like bug catching tournaments and stuff. Or when maybe you play hide and seek with villagers. So Animal Crossing came out really at sort of the I'm going to say unfortunately perfect time. Mm-hmm. And we're talking specifically about New Horizons, but we'll talk a bit about the older games, wherein New Horizons released, March 22nd? Which
it was March 20th.
March 20th,
Yes.
which was just when things were sort of starting to hit the fan in the United States. I was in New York City at the time, in Brooklyn, and so it was really kind of like an immediate, one day things seemed kind of totally normal as is, and then they were very, very different. It was, I mean, personal anecdote time. My friend and I, literally the weekend before lockdown started in New York City, had gone upstate to visit a friend. And when we got back, we were in an Uber on the way back to my apartment. And our Uber driver, it was like, I want to say it was like an hour and a half to 2 hour ride from the Port Authority bus terminal to my apartment just because of traffic. And this Uber driver was full-on conspiracy theorist, saying really racist, horrible stuff to myself and my friend who's Chinese.
Oh no.
We're sitting in the back, and he's telling us all sorts of stuff about how, like, you know, this is karmic retribution, this is, you know, like a government plot. It was a lot, and we were laughing about it, but like we were very aware of the situation in other countries. And then she went home to her own place up in Long Island, and it then like everything shut down. Our classes for the remainder of the semester went totally online. Everything shifted very dramatically, very quickly. And at this time, my roommate and I had been waiting just very excitedly for Animal Crossing to come out. I had been watching the Nintendo Direct probably every other day, like maybe twice a day, to just kind of get myself through my thesis, because it was like the one thing I was looking forward to was like, okay, I finished my thesis and I have Animal Crossing. And then yeah, everything got really bad really, really fucking fast, and I had my birthday in Animal Crossing, but we can talk about that later.
That was really fun. I have to say, I enjoyed your Animal Crossing
really
birthday.
Joella did a fantastic job planning that.
She really knocked it out of the park. My birthday is in less than 2 weeks now, and I feel like the Animal Crossing craze is over for a lot of people. So I think I might do a stream, but
I think a lot of people are so exhausted.
Yes.
And my own personal experience right now with New Horizons in specific is that I am too exhausted to handle my own life. So it is too daunting even to want to do chores in my virtual life.
yes,
Because time is passing in Animal Crossing in the same fashion that it passes in real life.
Yes.
And something about that is very unnerving to me now.
understandable. But what's funny is that on the 27th, though this is the 23rd that we're recording it, on the 27th, the remastered version of Moon Remix RPG is coming out. It's a 24/7 game, so I don't know, but do I really want to wake up at 6 a.m. to find out what character loves the sunrise the most, you know? So I don't know how long I'm going to fare in it, but I've been really excited for this game. So I'm hoping that it doesn't feel as daunting as Animal Crossing, because you are totally right. I still have 3 beetles I need to catch by the end of this month, and I'm having a meltdown if I don't catch one every single time. It's really bad. So I hear you.
Well, and it's so I started playing Animal Crossing with the GameCube games as like a young kid, and I remember the absolute magic of, there was a moment where my brothers and I were all sitting around like the family CRT television, and we're playing Animal Crossing, and it started to rain outside, and at that exact same moment it started to rain inside of the Animal Crossing game, and it was just this magical moment of wonder, of like perfect coincidence that just made the game feel so beyond the system and console that it was kept in. And like it was a game that like we played regularly for years, and you know, expanding houses and finding out new stuff, that like there was not the community for video games in terms of talking about and sharing new info and patch release notes that there is now, because like the internet wasn't really a thing back then. And so like you would get issues of Nintendo Power that had like these really cool guides on like cool patterns you could make and like codes you could use, and really magical. And I've always been very, very big into Animal Crossing. I splurged and treated myself to the limited edition Nintendo Switch, because when Nintendo comes out with Animal Crossing consoles, they're the ones that I really like to get. I love the aesthetic and motif of Animal Crossing stuff, and so when they showed that like new Switch, I was like, I need it really bad. And my roommate was like, oh my god. And I was like, listen, please. Please. So I was very, very excited for the new Animal Crossing, and I have always kind of been in that place where it's like I am chasing Animal Crossing down when it comes out, because historically, Wild World was very hard to get your hands on if you hadn't had it reserved, and it was also at a time where it was very difficult to reserve things with GameStop at times, where like certain stores could only take so many reservations, etc., etc. So I remember like my poor father chasing down Wild World for me for months, because I'm like a child, and he's like, every time he would like be in the area where the GameStop store in our town was, he would like go in and check for me, which is like so incredibly sweet. Until one day he like brought it home, and it was like Animal Crossing time. And I've probably sunk cumulatively in across the franchise thousands of hours into Animal Crossing. It is just a game that is very near and dear to me, that has gotten me through many difficult times, because when I can't cope in real life, I can cope in Animal Crossing. Until now, when the world has actively conspired against us, and it's a lot harder now. But I love Animal Crossing very, very much, and I am deeply indebted to it for all that it has done for me, and I'm really excited to talk about it.
Do you want to hear about my Animal Crossing experience?
Absolutely, of course, Teese.
So my first Animal Crossing was only New Leaf. I originally didn't plan on getting it, but I had a friend who was really into it, and my college roommate was super excited for it too. So I ended up trading a few games that I didn't play on my 3DS anymore, and I paid for Animal Crossing that way, and I had some difficulties getting it myself. I ended up going to like 3 different GameStops to find the one that did have it, and I got it, and I was really into it, and it was my first one. I think I probably sunk about 250 hours into it easily. My current file on my Switch has 375, 380 maybe. So
yeah, I think I'm close to 400 on my Switch.
So I've been playing a lot. I am really into catching the fish and the bugs and completing the museum. I currently have 5 fish left, 8 bugs left, and 28 paintings left. I am working on it. But a lot for me was when I brought my DS with me to my dad's house in Florida. My dad never had internet, so it was just me and my DS, the books that I brought, and the DVDs that I had for my laptop.
Teese and the Deese.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was before it weighed 10 pounds, too. But that whole entire time I was there, I spent it playing Animal Crossing, and when I was homesick and I wanted to be with my mom and I wanted to see my friends, I would go to the island and hunt for sharks and beetles for hours, and it made me feel a lot less alone. So I haven't played Animal Crossing as long, but it still means something deeply to me as well. And plus, I just love Gulliver. Seagull writes. I love Gulliver.
But New Horizons has been very, very different because it's on the Switch. It's very accessible for a lot of people who have never played it before, because the Switch is a console that has really kind of, I think, revolutionized the scene of on-the-go gaming. In making, handheld games like way more appealing because you can play them on your screen and they look just as great, if not better, when you pick them up and go on the run. So that's huge. And Animal Crossing New Horizons, because of the, for lack of a better word, clout that the series has sort of brought behind it after so many years, has made itself really accessible to brand advertisement as well now. So there have been some like wild crossovers that have been happening, and because of quarantine, a lot of people who haven't been able to see each other in person are able to see each other through Animal Crossing. Like I was saying, I had my birthday party on April 2nd in Animal Crossing, where myself and a bunch of friends all got together on another friend's island, and she had set up a bunch of birthday games for us. So it was like we had a and this was like this would have been like a little more than 10 days after release of the game. So it hadn't patched in like a whole bunch of added features like it has now, but at the time we did like a scavenger hunt, we played musical chairs, we played hide and seek, and these are all games that like players just create themselves. It's not like baked into the game. It was things that were made like by us to be played within the game. And there are people who have made like games of hopscotch, or more complicated like treasure hunting game, like all sorts of stuff. It's really, really cool.
I've seen people play football. I've seen
Yes.
people box. And I also have seen people make grids with the wheels that have the numbers and the letters and stuff like that. And then depending on which you roll to the wheels, and depending on which one you go, depends on what spot you go in. And then if you fall into a pit seed, you're out, and so on and so forth. So I think games like those are really fun as well. The Animal Crossing community is so creative in so many different ways. And now with terraforming, which is the changing and creation of your island, you could add waterfalls and rivers and get rid of them, and make different levels in your island because there's 3 tiers of land and stuff like that, and make paths and all of this fun stuff. There's so much creativity. I'm seeing people make arcades, and I'm seeing people make book nooks, and then here I am, and I'm like, this is my island where the turtles get married.
Well, and like that's the amazing thing, is that the game really has a spot for everyone to express their creativity in whatever way they find fun. So there are whole systems for making clothing, right, where it's basically pixel art that you're doing, but you can create like all different sorts of garments. And like if maybe you're not into making clothes, you can make art pieces. And if maybe you're not into like the interior design aspect of Animal Crossing, or I guess I should say exterior design too, because you can now place furniture items outside, there are people who build like whole narrative islands, which was like a huge thing for New Leaf, of like the horror islands that people would make and then go and visit. It's really amazing. And some people, like, all they live for is taking photos in Animal Crossing, or making lookbooks of all the different outfits they like to wear. And some people really just love to talk to the cute little animal villagers. Teese, do you have a favorite villager?
Yes. It's Pashmina.
Tell me about them.
Pashmina's?
Tell me about Pashmina.
I love Miss Pashmina. When I played New Leaf, she was one of my first villagers, and I grew incredibly attached to her, and she became my favorite. And as we got closer to New Horizons coming out, I still didn't see a single promo with Pashmina in it. And I was so afraid that she was cut from the game, because even though I knew hypothetically every character with an amiibo card was going to be in the game, I just wanted to see my special girl. And she wasn't there. She wasn't in any of the promos. She wasn't in any of the videos, any of the directs. But I still said to myself, it's okay. I'll find out soon enough. I'll know she's there. I start my game. And my 2 villagers come out of the airplane, and I see those little blue horns. She's a goat. And I was so excited that I cried.
I mean, like, that's such incredible luck.
I love her.
That's so delightful.
I was so excited. Literally, I was just like sold for the whole rest of the game. I was so happy that she, quote unquote, came home within the first day of the game. I didn't have to hunt for, because I was really expecting when I found out about the island hopping mechanic that I was going to have to do that to get her for hours and hours and just pray to God that I could get her home. And lo and behold, I didn't have to do any of the work. She came to me, which is really great. I also love Cashmere.
No. You only get one. You only get one.
Okay, fair.
If we just started listing off our favorite villagers, we would be here for hours.
Forever, yeah.
Because we'd list all of them. True. I love almost all of them.
True. I'm a diehard Stinky fan.
Stinky is very good.
I love
Stinky
him.
is so underappreciated. He's a cat who wears underwear on his head.
King. Who's your favorite?
I think my favorite is probably... This is why I have to say we only get one, because I have so many, and so I'm just going to go with what my gut says in this moment and say that I really love Apollo, he is an eagle villager with a grumpy personality, and I really enjoy him. And I think it's because most of the villagers I ended up with initially were all of like the normal personality type, or jocks, or peppy, or snooty, and I couldn't find like any grumpy villagers, so when I got him, I was very, very excited about that. And it was just so refreshing to have him as just like this person on my island who's like, not everything is amazing all the time. Sometimes you sit on a bug, and I'm like, sometimes you do, Apollo. And it'd be like that.
Apollo gets it.
Apollo really does get it.
I
also just like the eagle models.
I feel like I have a favorite for each personality type.
Oh, yeah.
But, I would have to stare at the personality types and actually think about it, and I don't have enough brain cells for that right now. Is there any villager that you hate? Because there's so much anti-villager discourse. There's
so much.
It's so
People
funny.
got really heated about it in New Horizons. They were like, stop being mean to them. And it's like, oh my God.
Like, they literally have the same voice lines. They just have different character design.
Exactly. That's what it is. It comes down to character design. I'm trying to get Lyman off my island. He was also my first villager. He's very sweet. He's very cute. But I'm fucking exhausted of his green little face.
I want Lucy gone for the same reason.
You don't match my aesthetic, Lyman.
She accidentally came as I was island hopping for somebody good, and she just showed up, and she moved in from a friend's island. And
the presumption.
I want her gone. I don't talk to her, but she never has the speech bubble. Everybody else has asked to leave, so I'm hoping that now as the cycle's ending, it'll go to her. But I want her gone, and I want to hunt for somebody. How do you feel about the business cat, though, is the real question.
Raymond.
I feel like we need to do a whole entire episode on
the economy of Raymond.
The Raymond economy is in shambles.
The Raymond economy really is in shambles. I don't really have feelings about Raymond. My friend Jala has her island is named Cape Cooch, and it is filled exclusively with cats, and it is herself and 3 other avatars she has made to all represent her cats.
It's really
good. She has Raymond, of course. She got Raymond very early on in the game through like pretty minimal island hunting, but I don't really have any opinions on the business cat. I would love to not log on to my Twitter timeline and see pornography of a Gajinka of this little man.
I haven't seen any in a while, thank God.
Oh my God, the business cat.
The business cat. I love sad stuck Raymond art. It's so funny.
Oh, Raymond. Raymond. You're not my Romano.
No.
But, you know. All right. So, for the topic at hand, Animal Crossing New Horizons has proven to be a incredible marketing partner in the midst of the pandemic, and businesses are loving it. Animal Crossing New Horizons is actually currently free for brands to partner with, which is huge in the world of marketing. And you can contrast this to games like Fortnite or The Sims, where corporate partnership is, as typical, bought and signed for. And, you might get some exposure, but something about the Animal Crossing community in particular, because it is such a family-friendly game, is I mean, it's very easy for brands to find viewership there, and Animal Crossing is being played by both children, and famously there is a woman by the name of Audie who has clocked over 1,000 hours into her Animal Crossing New Leaf game.
I think it was even 2,000.
Fuck it up, Audie. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. They put a tribute character to her in the game who is a wolf with a new personality, named Audie after her. Yeah. It is a guaranteed brand safe game because it's got these clean, simple aesthetics, and Nintendo's content filters are pretty famously on top of the game in terms of keeping everything safe and acceptable for children. You can't swear via the game's chat system unless you're marked as best friends with someone. There's a fake story that got circulated in 2018 of Iwata, who's one of the upper devs at Nintendo, and other developers discussing their need to develop a penis detection software when Hatena Flipnote came to the DS in the West. And the story goes, it is a totally fake story. It's been proven to be a parody, but it's still funny. That the devs spent too long studying actual photos of penises, and only then realized that no one was drawing hyper-realistic penises. They were going to be drawing shitty little doodles of them, and those were maybe what they needed to study and develop their content-aware software around. There was a little bit of a scandal when the art museum... Hi, our resident Animal Crossing expert, Eskel, is here.
Esky.
And he's rubbing up against the mic.
Hi,
Honey, Daddy's working. Daddy's working at school. So if you hear any jingling, I apologize. That's my cat. There was a little bit of a scandal when art pieces were added to New Horizons, and for the first time, the art was high poly enough for you to make out Michelangelo's David's The Penis. Which has led to a lot of fun jokes in game of just villagers who will stare at it. But there were some moms, I think, who were pretty upset about it, and it's it's art historical, Karen. Your child should be allowed to see a penis in an artistic context.
For real. That's kind of shocking that parents are horrified by that, as if it's a bad thing that art is being viewed by their children. I do want to go back to what you were saying about Animal Crossing as a free thing for brands to join with. I do know in New Leaf there was a 7-Eleven collaboration.
Yes.
Do we know anything about how much money was put into that? Do we know anything about how it came to fruition? Because I wish every day that I could have had the 7-Eleven items in New Leaf, but they were region locked, so I never got them, but I really wanted them.
So I couldn't find anything about what sparked that collaboration or how much money, if any money, was spent on it. So to contextualize this, in New Leaf in particular, players were allowed to connect via Nintendo zones or access items through 3DS Spot Pass systems. So if you went to a designated Starbucks or a Best Buy and you connected to the Wi-Fi and went to your post office in New Leaf, you could ask about special gifts. And Pelly or Phyllis, I forgot her name for a moment, would say, oh, hey, yeah, we picked up something from, the Nintendo Zone. Here you go. And so a lot of times these items were holiday themed.
I know there's a new one each month. I remember getting a new one each month. I'm really excited.
Yes, there is a new one each month. They were normally themed to holidays or cultural events. So sometimes they would be outfits or wigs or a shamrock hat, or they would be special food items which were relevant. And these were all little furniture items you could place within your house. But in Japan specifically, they got a set that was the 7-Eleven collection. And it was a series of models and furniture created to look like Japanese 7-Eleven konbini displays. So there was a bed that was made to look like a carry-out container of food that you could sleep on. There were little tiny models of 7-Eleven konbinis themselves, all sorts of stuff. It was really, really cool. And because it was region locked, you had to know somebody who had access to those Japanese items to like buy them from them in game. And so like I remember going onto Tumblr and like setting up trades with people because it's like I want that food item to put in my little Animal Crossing cafe. I have a feeling, and this is total conjecture, but it may have just been because 7-Eleven is such a prevalent brand in Japan and is like a very famous konbini, and it's just kind of like, it's different. It's like, I mean, 7-Eleven is very different in Japan than it is in the United States. Mm-hmm. If you go to a 7-Eleven in the United States, it's grubby. It's uncomfortable to be in there. I don't like it. I don't like the experience of going to 7-Eleven. But in Japan, apparently it's really, really nice.
I've heard they're nice. I've heard Kmart's in Australia are really nice too.
Yes. My friend Cassie has confirmed that for me many times, that Kmart's in Australia are like Targets here in the US.
That's so fancy. I love that.
Wish that were us. Kmart's in the United States are liminal spaces, and I don't like them.
Scary.
The veil between this world and the Eldritch Plane is very thin when you step into a Kmart in the US.
Yeah, pretty much. Especially the one in Penn Station.
Before New Leaf, there were some other digital items that were accessible. So City Folk, which was the Wii game, allowed players to receive items from Nintendo via the Wii Connect 24 system. Those items as well were like largely Nintendo themed or culturally themed alongside of holiday events. You got things like the Eiffel Tower, carp windsocks, furniture that looked like Nintendo consoles or controllers, like there were lockers that looked like Wiimotes. And then going back even further, the first actual digital addition to an Animal Crossing game was a total accident. And it happened in Wild World. So on January 26, 2006, a blank letter arrived to players from a no-name individual. It was just left blank, and it was distributed over the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. It was a glitched red tulip item that was an invisible 1x1 block that could not be moved or replaced by other items, and you could walk over it, but obviously that's one square in your house that you never get to move. It was patched out, but that was like the very first time that we got digital content. But now we got all these ad campaigns, and some of them are really cool, and some of them are obvious grabs for attention and marketing, and it's very interesting how easy it is for people to kind of perceive and feel that, especially in this age where it's like, brands are our friends. They're not. A corporation is never your friend. A corporation is not a person, and therefore cannot be your friend. Teese, among this list that we have, which one is most exciting to you? I think let's start off like that.
So I love the concept of the museums and the art gallery ones. I think those are really fun. I am a frequent museum goer when people are not dying of a disease. And to see, how do I word this? To see people continue to create art and to bring it to an audience, even despite the pandemic, I think is really charming. And I love that they recreated the artist's present for the Lotharin Gallery, which was hosted specifically by Nicole Shin. And it included over 20 contributing artists, and you could actually buy the real life version of these art pieces from their website. I did check. They don't have any in stock right now. I guess it's sold out because this was earlier in the year, around like April, May-ish, and it is now the end of August. It's the final third of August, but I thought that as a concept was really fun, and I loved that the Getty Museum basically took every single open domain art piece and then made a QR code for that. And I think that's just fantastic.
Which is really incredible, yeah.
And I mean, granted, it was like AI generated, but that's fine because everybody can get what they want then. And I think that's so charming because obviously you can buy art in Animal Crossing from Red, but it's hard. It's a pain in the ass to wait for Red, and you have to get lucky to get specifically the thing that you want and stuff like that. And I just think it's neat that people are putting out ways to get art even without having to go through quote unquote Red with 2D's tape.
Yeah. Well, and it's amazing too because the key of that, right, is accessibility and access to things which are otherwise not really readily accessible for a lot of people. I mean,
Yes.
the experience of seeing art in person is very different than looking at it in, just like a digital image online. And I mean, as someone who's had the privilege to go to a lot of really big museums and see a lot of really incredible pieces, you lose the sense of size and texture. But Animal Crossing making the museum going experience a little bit more accessible and saying, like, here's a gallery space you can virtually walk into in this fun, cute little game that you love and, like, have this moment with your friends or by yourself or with a villager you really love is so wonderful and so amazing. And I think speaks to a lot of what has had to happen in the current times that we're dealing with, where there's been so much that has been gated away from people either because of distance or because of wealth inequality. Like Hamilton, right? You couldn't see Hamilton unless you went and saw it on a Broadway production, right? Which was like exorbitantly expensive. But bringing that to Disney Plus, like you're still gating it behind a paywall. But it does make it more accessible to people. And I think a lot of these pushes for Animal Crossing is about sort of equalizing the playing field a little bit to make experiences more open for people and to continue that sense of community that I think a lot of us have lost in the midst of all of this.
And to go back to what you were saying about accessibility, obviously a Switch is not a cheap thing by all means.
It's not. No.
However, it is the opportunity to encourage a love of something through combining another hobby that you already love. And I think it's really fantastic that people can learn art history and learn information about fish and bugs and things like that just simply by playing a game that they enjoy playing.
Well, that's always been like one of my favorite things about Animal Crossing, right? Is like learning about these fish and bugs that I would otherwise have no idea existed. But I catch them in game and I take them to Blathers, who's this little owl at the museum, and he's like, did you know that these little guys love to eat peas? And I'm like, oh my god, I love them. That's an amazing animal. I want to learn more about that, you know? Or like seeing an art piece and it's like it's a little pixelated version of it, but like Blathers tells you a little bit about the history of it or the context of it. And that little tiny spark of like, not only are you being rewarded with information, which I think is such an amazing thing, there's now this spark to like maybe go check out more of that, or like, oh, it was by this painter, I want to learn more about them. Like that sounds like a really cool painting.
And I've seen some of these paintings in real life too, and it just feels so wonderful to see them again in game. Like I saw the Mona Lisa. Like I've been to Paris and I've seen the Mona Lisa, and I've seen a good chunk of Van Gogh pieces just because I ended up at several Van Gogh displays in my lifetime, and I've seen I've seen a few of the statues and stuff like that, and just it feels good to see. Oh my gosh, I just got a really bad case of deja vu. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Oh, oofa doofa. That was a weird one. It just feels so absolutely wonderful to be reminded of these moments that were such a wonderful experience to begin with, that it feels almost nostalgic to walk through these museum spaces. My mom at one point did work as a tour guide at the Bronx Zoo, so a lot of my childhood was spent going to the Bronx Zoo and going to the New York Aquarium, and walking through the museum the first time in game made me cry. I thought it was so beautiful, and it reminded me of what life can go back to and what we'll eventually get to see once again. And I am so ready to go to a museum or go to the zoo again or something like that. And Animal Crossing makes it a little bit easier. It's like a little slice of home while you're stuck at summer camp, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about accessibility and real life in a game, I think the natural jumping off point then is to talk about what Gillette is doing with Animal Crossing. So it's Venus Gillette has started an ad campaign that I believe launched this weekend. We are recording on the 23rd of August. Mm-hmm. And this campaign is all about inclusivity. So Animal Crossing only introduced different default skin tones in New Horizons, which is a huge problem for a litany of reasons. Mm-hmm. New Leaf had a tanning mechanic, which required players who wanted deeper skin to keep their character out in the sun for several hours over the span of multiple days. The tan had to be maintained or it would fade, and it was annoying.
It was a pain in the ass.
And I mean, I'm a white individual. I'm very pale. So I cannot even begin to imagine how frustrating the history of games in general is for players of color, players who are indigenous, players who are black, who don't get to see themselves represented and don't even have the choice in customizable games to mm-hmm. make themselves represented. So they added 8 skin tones with New Horizons that you can choose from, and it is kind of cool that you can change them at any time if you want, which will play into another thing we're going to talk about then. But Gillette came out with a campaign, and it is focused specifically upon women, but the campaign released a catalog of QR designs for outfits and face paints, which allow you as the player avatar to have a curvier body, to have stretch marks, to have acne, vitiligo, prosthesis, mastectomy scars, like so many things. So many things like you just generally don't see in video games anyway, but they've now put into Animal Crossing. And there's 19 different designs across the game's 8 skin tones, so they're available to literally any of the skin tones in game, because there is an issue, unfortunately, of people making like body mod patterns, but only making them available for their player skin tone. Uh-huh. Vivian Kane of the Mary Sue writes, "Sure, this is a product tie-in, and there's always reason to be cynical of that, but honestly, having a company create these designs of those flaws because they actually see them as marketable can feel super empowering in pretty much the only way capitalism can be empowering," end quote. Which, I mean, I think really sums it up perfectly. Like, if you as a company want to be inclusive and really reach out to people, like, this is the way to do it. Like, this is a fantastic example of like looking at your consumer base, looking at your message and saying like, oh, like this is what we need to do. Because Venus Gillette ads specifically have always been like these very outdoor, beachy, tropical ads of like women in these like springs shaving already shaved legs. And with this campaign and with some other stuff they've been doing, they realized they really needed to shift their digital imaging because it felt really inappropriate for them to show these like outdoor paradise escapes when no one can access that right now. But where can we access it? Animal Crossing.
This is by no means worse than saying this is more important than a skin tone or important than a birthmark or a scar or anything like that. But right now I know, for instance, like Pit Crew is really popular, and Pit Crew mm-hmm. is basically a doll designer, so people can make icons and avatars for their social media or just play dress-up games and stuff like that. And as somebody with a shaved head, it is so rare that a Pit Crew has a shaved head option.
Where's my bald rep?
Literally, I will look at a Pit Crew and I say to myself, are you gonna get bummed if there's no shaved head option? And I have to ask myself before I click on it, because sometimes I'll really, really want to do one, but then there won't be anybody that looks like me because nobody has a shaved head, and I don't want like a super short haircut. I want my bald.
Yeah.
So it's so relieving to have yourself represented in some way. Mm-hmm. No matter what it is, it feels good. I mean, representation matters. It's proven over and over again, you know, no matter how big or small.
Yeah, exactly. It is so important, I think, especially in a game that is all about making a one-to-one version of yourself and living out like a little tiny life to see yourself in it. Mm-hmm. And like Animal Crossing, you know, not only including like different skin tones finally, because like I don't want to I don't want to praise them for doing something that they should have really been doing from the beginning, you know? But also, like, finally including fucking, like, black hairstyles. Like, this shouldn't be revolutionary.
No.
This shouldn't even be, like, marginally above the floor kind of bar. Like, this should be the floor, you know? For all games. All games. Yes. Especially a AAA developer like Nintendo.
And especially something where you customize characters that hypothetically could be you. Like, looking at The Sims, there's this huge community of black women who make hairstyles specifically for black Sims. Like, why are these fans having to make the difference and not EA themselves?
The Elder Scrolls Online is like black people with vampirism. Oh, so they're gray and pale now. Like, no. The
only hairstyle that we should ever have to fight for that doesn't come automatically is the one hair baby hair for Final Fantasy.
God. The Armstrong Full Metal Alchemist style, like,
one lock
little
of hair.
coiffed hair.
It should be expected that black people should have hairstyles that reflect their current hairstyle.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't understand why it's such an issue. Like, God forbid a black person plays a video game. Shocker.
I don't want to call the studio out, but there was and they're indie, right? But they released a video talking about the diversity of their office, and their office is their idea of diversity was, we have women on staff.
Oh, Jesus.
The entire video was these white people talking about the diversity and inclusivity of their studio, and one Asian woman. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Is
There's
she
like
okay?
15 of you in this video. Oh my God. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That's absolutely ridiculous.
Awful.
You shouldn't be proud of yourselves. Like,
No.
ha.
So, to get back on track, I
Yes.
am going to ask you now, is there a marketing campaign that you hate via Animal Crossing?
And, yeah. It's Cottonelle. This is, like, I don't necessarily have a problem with toilet paper advertising via Animal Crossing. I kind of just resent it because I don't like Cottonelle toilet paper.
This is a Scots household.
Yes, in the notes, this is a fucking Scots household. Thank you very much. It's not like all plush and dainty, you know. I get it. It's kind of scratchy, but it doesn't leave anything behind. It doesn't get fucking tangled in the hair around my ass. Like, no, I don't have time for Cottonelle and like fucking picking little detritus.
Cha-cha-cha, Charmin.
The Charmin bears love to wipe their ass, and I can't stand it. Can America please normalize bidets already? Please. In what world? Like, if you got shit on your hand and you just wiped it off with a dry towel, you would not think your hand is okay. You would not shake somebody's hand. Why does it... okay, I'm not going to go on my toilet paper right. Anyway, Cottonelle has been advertising with these... The ads are ugly. Like, I'm sorry to shit on whatever social media intern was working on this. I apologize. You had a great idea, but they released some QR patterns that are like really weird. I mean, it's just QR designs of like images of toilet paper and down there care, and it's a bad ad campaign, and it's all over my fucking Twitter timeline. And the idea is that if you tweet at them a screenshot of you using their QR codes, if you're among one of the first 125 people, you might get a coupon. Just a coupon. Do you know how much work it takes? First of all, my design spaces in Animal Crossing, I am not using them up for this fucking ugly-ass toilet paper QR code that came from a corporate industry trying to give me give me the coupon for free. I bet I can find the coupon for free online. Probably. How dare you? How dare you insult my time, Cottonelle? How dare you? There are other companies doing so much better, and this is what you bring to the table? How dare you?
This is by no means not a sponsored episode.
It's not. Nobody paid me to shit on Cottonelle. And you know what? If Cottonelle wants to send me a bunch of, like, flushable, eco-friendly wipes, hit me up. Maybe we can talk then. But right now, Cottonelle, absolutely not. Get out of here. In contrast, you want to know which ad campaign here I really, really love?
Please tell me.
Hellman's Mayo.
Oh, this is so good. This is a recent one, despite, like, the craze kind of dying down.
Yeah.
We are still seeing this out, but I think it is so effective because it reflects the current players community. Currently, from August 17th to August 21st, people were invited to donate spoiled turnips, and for every turnip they donated, a meal would get donated to Second Harvest Canada, which is a group that gives meals to people in need, whether it's for food banks or if it's for homeless shelters and so on and so forth.
Assuming you've never played Animal Crossing, there is a system called the Stalk Market, where you essentially buy turnips every Sunday from this little boar that comes to your island, and the turnips are worth so much money when you buy them, and every day, twice a day, the price that the turnips will sell at fluctuates. So it is a miniature stock market in the game. But if you haven't sold your turnips by, Saturday then, before the next Sunday, they automatically spoil. So they're not worth anything anymore. So Hellman's Mayo demonstrates, and this is Hellman's Mayo, the Canada division specifically, clearly understands who is playing the game, how the game works, and said, what is something that we can do which solely benefits our community during this very difficult time, and still integrates this game into it in a way that shows we actually understand who we're marketing to and what we're marketing for. This isn't something where it's like, oh, you get a coupon or you get a free jar of Hellman's mayonnaise. This is literally like, hey, the community is struggling right now, and we thought of a really fun way to get people involved and giving back in a way that naturally goes along with things they're already doing at home.
It was so successful that they reached their goal of 25,000 meals, which says a lot. When I was looking into it, it was booked solid back to back to back every single day. So
and you can take 8 people onto your island or 7 people onto your island at once at any given time block. And like, their island is beautiful. Like, from their promotional videos, like, somebody has spent the time, really dedicating themselves to making sure this island looks beautiful and on theme. Like, it's like these like acres of like farmland and like fun little photo op setups, and like they've made uniforms and like merchandise you can go download for free at their Able Sisters, which is like the seamstress shop. It's just like, oh, you understand. And like their in-game merch, their sweaters, I'm looking at you, Cottonelle, Hellman's Mayo merch kind of slaps.
It's cute. Like, they use the bow that's usually Sean. They use the bow in their shirt, so it doesn't just say like mayo on the shirt, it'll just be the Hellman's bow, while the Cottonelle one was like toilet paper. Look at this toilet paper. But with Hellman's, they used their color scheme to make like retrofits and stuff like that, and whoever was the head of this clearly plays Animal Crossing, like,
yeah, they know what's up.
They know what's up. Yeah, it was really impressive.
Another cool thing that's been happening in Animal Crossing is what celebrities are doing with Animal Crossing.
Yes.
A lot of celebrities have been playing Animal Crossing, and it's very funny and amusing in a way that it's like, wow, they're real people too.
They're just like us.
One of the first ones that people really saw who was very front facing about it was Brie Larson.
Oh my gosh, she was obsessed.
She plays Captain Marvel, for anyone unaware. She's a wonderful actress, like very, very talented, very skilled. But she did ads with Nintendo because she was tweeting about how excited she was for this game organically. So she did some ads where she was like showing off her Switch Lite, and she was wearing like Tom Nook's iconic palm frond shirt, and she did some interviews. Her favorite villager, if you are wondering, is Solel, just so everybody knows. And then the big one that kind of shocked everyone was Elijah Wood. there was a player who listed the price their turnips were selling at in their town, and Elijah Wood DM'd them on Twitter asking to come and sell turnips on their island. So Twitter user directed by Brian had Elijah Wood on their island and was like talking about it on Twitter, like after they had asked him and everything. And he was so polite. He followed perfect player etiquette. He was like, is it okay if I pick some of your fruit? And they were like, yeah, of course, like absolutely. And when he left, he said, long live Ryan Johnson. A king with taste. Thank you, Mr. Elijah Wood.
Other favorites for me have been Danny Trejo, T-Pain, and AOC.
AOC, like, what up? The fact, okay, this is a divergence, but the fact that AOC goes and deals with politicians all day and then comes home and plays League of Legends is like the most hardcore thing in the world.
I love AOC.
The woman gets yelled at professionally.
And she really just does it for fun, too.
Yeah. The other really cool thing that's been happening is a show called Animal Talking, which is hosted by Gary Whitta. He's the writer of Rogue One and the Book of Eli. Gary Whitta has made this live show, late night talk show format in Animal Crossing, and it is the most charming, ingenious thing. So because it takes place in Animal Crossing and he hosts it inside of like his Animal Crossing house, right? He is able to gather all at once all aspects of a live show where he has all of his guests there, he has the music there, and any comedy acts, they're all in one room together. And this is where they actually had Elijah Wood and Danny Trejo on together in one episode. And the nature of the video game allows it to be really kind of charming and genuinely funny when like little technical snafus happen, as opposed to like, I don't know, if Jimmy Fallon tripped and fell on his face walking out onto Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, I would be very concerned for him and it would not be funny. But if a player character trips and falls in Animal Crossing, that's just like genuinely funny. Or if like Danny Trejo runs up and down the stairs over and over again, like that's funny. It's like, it's normally 2 hours in length and he gets like a really diverse crop of guests. He had Selena Gomez and Cory Barlog in one episode. And Cory Barlog is the writer and director of the most recent 2018 God of War game. So I'm like, okay. Like, you had like a huge name game dev and Selena Gomez in one episode. And something about that is just very funny to me. And I think would only work in this environment. Like, if you told me that Cory Barlog was going to be on like Conan, I would be like, what?
Why?
I mean, like, yeah, that's awesome for him, but why?
Shaggy perform. I was just looking through the YouTube channel, and it just shows that how versatile Animal Crossing is and how appealing it is to so many different people. Yeah. I think it really is right now, especially more than ever, a way to experience life when we can't. And I know for a fact Animal Crossing really has saved me emotionally, especially in the beginning, just so I could see my friends. I do, whenever we have the bug tournaments, I actually go on call with friends and we all play together and we run around each other's islands and tournament together, and it's really fun and it's really worth it. But I also think it's important to mention that the Detroit Lions used Animal Crossing as a way to promote their upcoming season. In the past, they did a gag on Planet Earth, but this year they did it about Animal Crossing, which I think is so funny because how many dads really care about Animal Crossing that care about the Detroit Lions?
Not enough.
Not that many, clearly. However, they made it work for them, which in a way almost went viral and encouraged people who might not necessarily be into football as a whole or the Detroit Lions to actually get excited about a football season, which I think is really cool, especially because it's really hard to get involved in sports right now because there's no way to be a part of the audience. Mm-hmm. And each game announcement had a little gag attached to it. So some examples would be, for instance, hitting a Green Bay Packers fan with a net. They were wearing a Green Bay Packers shirt, and the two Detroit Lions fans wearing Detroit Lions shirts started to hit the Green Bay Packers fan with a net. for instance, they buried the player icon buried a Papa Bear item to say that they were going up against the Bears. And when it was the bye week, they had the player character sleeping on the cot. And there was also an opportunity to get QR codes for Lions logo outfits, so your character could partake in the fun during the sports season.
Mm-hmm. I think the overall theme of marketing with Animal Crossing, and not just marketing, but why things involving Animal Crossing have been so successful, is we all enjoy the same kind of things, and Animal Crossing really kind of shows that on some level we all just really want to relax and unwind and have something that is not stressful in our life. So like IGN has been running a series of island tours with like big name celebrities, but also with people like Laura Bailey and Felicia Day. They ran one with a WWE wrestler named Xavier Woods. And like this idea that, I mean, we're all trapped in our houses. Hopefully you are trapped in your house because the alternative is that you are at work. In which case, like, I wish the best to you, and I hope you are staying safe. I know it is incredibly difficult right now, and I cannot imagine the added stress and, you know, real danger of like having to go out in the world. And as we talk about, you know, like schools reopening, like those are terrifying things. And I know some of you may be in places where COVID is not the danger that it still is in the United States for us right now. But unfortunately, our government has failed us, and we are dealing with some pretty intense repercussions, and some people are in some very legitimate danger. But one of the saving graces, you know, can be, you know, finding community and relaxation in something as simple as Animal Crossing. And like, maybe you don't have a Switch and you can't play the game. I would encourage you to maybe look up people just playing it on stream on Twitch or on YouTube. Like, it is a game that is just made to be relaxed to. Like, the music is very chill. It is a game that is all about just taking it easy and taking a small moment to kind of breathe and enjoy life on its purest levels.
Yeah. That feels good.
That feels good.
That feels good.
Thank you so much for listening. It was wonderful having you. We hope you'll catch us again next week. If you enjoyed the show, I'd encourage you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or maybe share it with someone. We actually just decided to launch a coffee, so if you're interested in more directly supporting the show and you're able to, we would be really appreciative. We are on coffee at Authors Note Pod. There is a link to that on our Twitter, which is at Authors Note Pod. If you would like to reach out to us directly, you can email us, authorsnotepod@gmail.com. If you're interested in finding more of my work, you can find it on Twitter at Valhethella, VALHETHELLA. Teese, where can we find more of your work?
You could find me at Vicuniad, which is my personal Twitter, VICUNAD. You could also find me on the Fresh Podcast Market, which is my other podcast where we make up ideas for fake podcasts because we're a real podcast. You could also find me at The Reticulation, which is an upcoming website that I am currently working on with a friend. Our theme music is by composer James Yaiullo.
And our cover art is by Nyaliest. You can find her on Twitter at Nyaliest, NYALLIEST. Until next time, thank you, and stay safe.
Everybody stay safe. Have a good one.